science be about increasing NAD plus and using our uniquely formulated H pill today?
You bet. What a great topic. You know, every day, Andrea, I see people that are posting things about, you know, not just the age pill, but different products that they've maybe read something, or somebody had some misunderstanding of how the product works, or what the product does, and when they're supposed to take it, when they're not supposed to take it, things like that. And I thought, you know, what a great topic, because we can kind of get rid of maybe some of that misunderstanding that people have.
Yeah, well, for the new people on the call, or who might be listening to the call, why don't we just start out with a couple of basics. Like we have a brand new product starting last July called Age Pill, and we have, I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands of people taking it now and growing younger. And that comes from research in the anti-aging field, where they've discovered how to increase something in our body called NAD+. Could you explain what that is?
You bet. Well, without getting really too in-depth in chemistry, because, you know, I always tell people that I remember in high school, I remember in college, people hated chemistry class. And so they just can't imagine going to another one now as an adult. And so just really simply that NAD+ is one of the components in your body. It's what your body uses to make energy, right? And if you don't have enough energy, your body can't repair, your body can't fix itself. And so what ends up happening is that you start going into a state of disrepair. You go into more degeneration than regeneration. And that's really the cause of aging. And that's why we see people getting, you know, having aging diseases. So that's just a really easy way to explain it. And really, when you look at the science on it, you know, they discovered a lot of things about niacin 40, 50 years ago, maybe even older than that. And when you talk about the age pill, really what we're using various forms of niacin, various forms of vitamin B3, you know, like niacinamide and nicotinamide acid and niacinamide acid, and we're using nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide. So those are all precursors to what Andrea is talking about, which is the NAD. And so that's really what we've done, part of what we've done, and we've added some other components that you know, the brilliant biochemist Tom Sr. has put together, has put into the formulation to make it so that your body makes this energy and makes it better than, I mean, really, and this isn't just my opinion, this is the opinion of a lot of scientists, it works better than any other product of its kind on the market.
I agree with you. And I was just thinking that, you know, the other day a question came up from someone about the safety of the ingredients and things like that. And you were sharing with me, you kind of went, oh, this one, oh, that's like eating some red meat. And this one is like eating, you know, 3 cups of veggies. And so it's all plant-based. It's all really safe for everyone to take. It doesn't interfere with medications. Isn't that the truth?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you take a look at it. So we've got a form of vitamin B3, right? If you eat fruits and vegetables that have niacin, if you eat meat that has niacin, you're getting it. Right? You're getting that out of your food. Your body needs niacin. It needs vitamin B3 to stay alive. If you don't have any NAD in your body, you got about 20 seconds to say goodbye. Right? That's how quickly you're going to die if you don't have any NAD in your body. So when I hear people tell me, "Oh, I'm allergic to that," no, you're not allergic to it. And then, right? And then I hear people say, "Oh, yeah, I'm allergic to this part of it." No, you're probably not allergic to that part of it either. But you take a look at, like, you know, we have beta alanine. You know, what does beta alanine do in the body? Well, it helps your body make carnosine. And what is carnosine? Well, carnosine helps your body so that it converts some of these things that we're talking about into some of the other ingredients that we're talking about. So it helps with the whole conversion. And we have tryptophan in there. Tryptophan, 5-hydroxytryptophan, actually, it's an activated form of tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid, and we're putting in, I think it's like 50 milligrams, which, you know, when you eat eggs, when you eat steak, when you eat chicken, you get that. I mean, everybody knows probably about tryptophan because at Thanksgiving, guess what happens when you eat turkey at Thanksgiving, Andrea?
Tell me about it, Doc.
People fall asleep, right? They eat all that turkey, which is loaded with tryptophan, and don't they, you know, have their afternoon nap after they eat turkey?
That's right, they do.
Yeah, tryptophan, and so that's one of the other, you know, ingredients that we put in the age pill, not to make people go to sleep, but because it's an essential amino acid. And some people say, "Oh, I get nauseous when I take the product. Like I can't take it. I get nauseous." Well, what happens is sometimes your body is so deficient on some of these things that we're talking about that it triggers this reaction in your body. But it's not a bad thing. It's just that, you know, if you haven't been to the gym for a while, for example, and you go to the gym, you're probably going to feel some side effects of going to the gym, right? And if you haven't had some of these nutrients in a concentrated form, if you haven't been eating right, if your diet's been deficient, aren't you probably going to have some kind of a reaction? You bet. And so that's just a normal thing. But, you know, what I try and tell people is that if the reaction is too much for you to handle, if your body's having a really severe reaction and you go, oh boy, I just can't take that, cut back. And some people are so sensitive, they may have to cut back to 1 pill a day. And then gradually build it up where they can take 2 pills a day, and then build it up to where they can take 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and get up to that normal dosage. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But most people aren't going to have any problem at all, and they can take the full dosage, the 6 a day. In fact, I would say that a majority of us can take the double dose, just like Tom says. And Andrea, I mean, we know why we take the double dose. It's like taking your car to the mechanic and having them flush your radiator. You flush your system out right away, and then the product's going to work better when you get on the regular dose. So flush it out and then go on the regular dose. So that's why we have people take a double dose, because, you know, I mean, obviously, if you've been eating wrong for 40 years, it might take a while for it to work, right?
Right. Okay, you and I both saw someone posted some misinformation and said that they heard that you should not take the age pill when you have heart conditions. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I don't know where anybody would have come up with that, but you know, I mean, it's funny how, you know, there's so many things on the internet, and it's misread, and one person. You ever play that childhood game where I whisper something in your ear and then you're supposed to whisper it in the person's ear next to you?
Yep.
Right? And it goes around in a circle, and finally, when it gets to the end, is it the same message that you whispered into my ear in the beginning?
Never was.
Never was. It always changes, right? And so that's kind of the same thing that happens here, is that we say something and somebody else repeats it, and then somebody else repeats it, and then they didn't quite hear it right, but they still repeat what they think they heard. And eventually what happens is you get a message that, holy cow, no, that's way wrong. And so when you look at the age pill, anti-glycation extreme, it's an acronym for anti-glycation extreme. And it's pretty cool. What it does is it removes glycation. And glycation, really simply, is that it's the sugar coating that gets on your proteins. And one easy way, and I explained it to the group in Lansing, Michigan last night, if you've ever taken a piece of chicken and rolled it in flour and then thrown it in a frying pan of hot oil, you know, Andrea, what happens to the coating, the breading that you put on the chicken?
It gets all brown and crusty.
Yeah, it gets all brown and crusty. So in your body, just think of it like this: in your body, you're operating at just about at 100 degrees. So it's like a an oven turned on low, but it's on low for a long time. So you're slow cooking. It's like having your oven on and you're slow cooking a roast. And then you take and putting some breading in there. And well, guess what? Just like that piece of chicken that you threw in the frying pan, it's browning and it's getting glycation, which is that breading. So all of your proteins are getting that breading on them, and it's coming from the carbohydrates. Well, like you and I were talking about last night, we go back to the 1960s, 1950s, 1960s. They decided that fat wasn't good for you. They decided that carbohydrates were the best thing, and we should go on a low fat, no fat diet. Well, guess what happens? When you cut out the carbs, guess what you're increasing? Or when you cut out the fats and proteins, what do you increase?
Carbs.
Yeah. Sure. So you're increasing the glycation, right? So you're actually making it worse. So in the last 50 years, we've actually made that condition worse than we have better, right?
Right.
And so as we've done that, we've increased the incidence of heart disease in our country. Heart disease is either the number 1 or number 2 killer. Last year, in 2017, it was actually passed by cancer for the first time in history. But typically, heart disease is the number 1 killer in America and really in the Western world. And that's because we way too many carbs. And so really, if you have heart disease, doesn't it make sense that the ingredients in the age pill would be exactly what you need? Right?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it really does. And then on top of it, we need energy. Your body operates at about 110 millivolts, and your heart operates at somewhere around 200 millivolts, right? So you need energy. And if you listen to any of Tom's, I'm just saying his kind of extended length calls that he does, where he really talks about how the product works. And I'm not going to get into a lot because it is a lot to explain it. But he talks about how the product helps your body make energy, electrical energy. And if your heart needs 200 millivolts, that's a lot of electrical energy that your body needs.
It is. And, I love that you and Tom share research articles with us all the time. I have a little collection of them going. My age pill library, I call it. And you've shared some articles about supporting the increase of NAD+ to help with autoimmune diseases too. Could you discuss that a little bit?
You bet. Yeah, I just posted another one. I think it was this morning. But, really, when you take a look at it, Harvard did some studies, and they posted it a while back. And the study really just said this, is that when you take and you start bumping up the NAD, when you take a look at the nicotinamide riboside, when you're bumping that up, one of the things that it does is it helps to re-regulate the immune system in the body. Because what happens with an autoimmune condition is that your body starts to decide that you aren't you. The parts of you on the inside aren't really you. And so in an autoimmune condition, then your immune system goes, well, if that's not you and it's on the inside of you, well, let's attack it. Let's kill it. And that's what your immune system is trying to do. And so in the case of asthma, for example, it's attacking the cells in the lungs. If it's, the bronchial tubes. If it's Crohn's disease, for example, it's attacking the cells in the digestive system. If it's Alzheimer's, it's attacking the cells in the brain. If it's diabetes, it's attacking the cells in the pancreas and all these different things. So really, your body has just really kind of the immune system regulation has just gotten out of whack. And what they found is that when you increase the NR and the NAD, you can actually re-regulate it. You can get the immune system go, hey, that really is you, and so now it doesn't attack anymore. It slows down the attack. But what's really cool is that if you read the study even further, they say that the NR and the NAD will actually now turn around. Once they've stopped the attack, they'll turn around and they'll actually go back and repair the damage. They'll repair the damage that they did. And so in the case of asthma, for example, we'll just use asthma. What it does is it repairs the bronchial tubes. In the case of Crohn's disease, it repairs the digestive system. In the case of multiple sclerosis, right? I mean, listen to the testimonial of that Mike gives us. We got that posted on the YouTube channel, Sisel World Team channel on YouTube, and go listen to Mike and listen to what he has to say. I mean, 25 years of having multiple sclerosis, he got to the point to where you couldn't understand when he was talking. He couldn't see anymore. He couldn't drive, and he could barely walk up and down stairs. To where now, after being on the H pill for 4 months, I mean, when you listen to him do his testimonial, he speaks so clearly. You have a hard time believing that he was ever that bad. And so really, that's what it does in terms of the autoimmune disorder.
Right. And, you know, Mike, I believe Mike started the H pill in December 2017, and here we are talking about it in June of 2018. And he actually had results within a month for certain things. So that was pretty amazing. The other thing that we were discussing earlier today is the assistance that H pill might give to cancer patients or people who are struggling in that battle.
Yeah, and I'm careful with some of the things that I say about cancer, really, because I don't want people to start thinking, oh yeah, you guys got the cure for cancer and things like that, because we really can't say that, and we got to be careful not to say that, and we don't want people to ever say that, and because I mean, once you have cancer, chances are you're always going to be high risk for it, because it's like having dandelions in your yard. It's like having weeds in your yard. They're really hard to get rid of because the roots are there. They've planted themselves deep into the soil and things like that. But and so what is the H pill, and what do the ingredients in the H pill do? Well, based on the research on the individual ingredients, again, we can't say this about the H pill itself, because we're not a research facility. We aren't going out and spending millions of dollars on research of the product and what it does. We're not taking it to a third party and saying, hey, would you do some research and test this? But what we can say is that when you take a look at the ingredients, what it does is it takes and it repairs, it helps to repair. The ingredients can repair the DNA. It stimulates the SERT genes, the 7 different SERT genes, which are the genes that do repair. And so it works to do that. The other thing is that it increases the energy. When you're increasing the electrical activity of the cell, right, what happens is that, in a way, and again, I like to speak in terms of everybody. I want you to understand. I want you to be able to visualize what I'm talking about. I mean, could I tell you all this stuff in big medical and scientific terms? You bet. But it doesn't help you any. But think of it like this, is that, your cell has like this electrical potential force field around it. And what it does is it acts like really like having an electric fence around your yard, around your sweet corn, and it keeps the raccoons out, right? And so this electrical fence goes around your cell, and it protects it. And what it does is it protects the cell from getting loaded up with toxins. It protects the cell from getting hit with viruses and bacteria and all that, because it creates this electrical force around the cell. And then what happens is that if your body can't make the energy, what happens is that electrical force field starts to go down. It starts to decrease in the amount of energy that's there. And so, like I said, a normal cell, a healthy cell, has somewhere between 70 to 110 millivolts of electrical energy. And that's been proven by science. They can take like a microscopic voltmeter and they can measure that. What happens is that because of stress, it damages the DNA. And the DNA that gets damaged the easiest with stress is actually the mitochondrial DNA. And the DNA in the mitochondria is actually different than the DNA in your body. Your DNA that makes you is different than the DNA that's in your mitochondria, but it gets damaged really easily. And when you look at the mitochondria is like the nuclear power plant inside your cell. And so the nuclear power plant starts to shut down, and all of a sudden this force field that's supposed to be 70 to 110 millivolts, it starts to run at 50 to 60. So it's running on like a half charge. It'd be like taking the battery in your car and taking out half the charge. Your car might start, it might not, right? And this happens every day, and we start to deplete it, and we deplete it and deplete it. Pretty soon that force field gets down to where it's running at 30 to 40 millivolts, right? It still might start your car, but it may not, and your car might not run as good. Maybe you can't turn your radio on. Maybe it's 105 degrees outside. You can't turn your AC on. All these different things, right? So it works, but is it really working good? Is it working at optimum? Absolutely not. And that's what happens in your body. And so if we take and we look at the components of the age pill, and we listen to how Tom Sr. explains to us that it builds electrical energy in the body. I mean, can you see, based on what I just said, that you take a product like the age pill that's going to bump up the electrical activity in a cell, it's going to increase the force field, it's going to increase the electrical fence activity around your cell, and all of a sudden you're going to protect your cell from things like cancer cells, and it's going to protect the cells from viruses, it's going to protect the cells from all these other things. And then if we go one step further and we add, like a product like Spectramax, the other day somebody said, well, should we take extra minerals when you're taking the age pill? Absolutely, right? Because if you're going to spend the money on trying to get healthy, you definitely want to have a good source of minerals. And I believe it was Harvard that had a study a number of years ago, and they said it's like, I thought it was 96% of us, 97% of us are missing at least 5 key essential trace minerals in our body. And Spectramax puts that back in.
Right. And minerals have their own electricity, and we're electrical beings. And so by intaking in these substances that have electrical force, we have better force field, right? Our Star Wars fans should love this conversation.
Exactly. The force be with you.
Yeah, use your force. Another thing that people have really, how their bodies have responded to increasing NAD and using some of these plant-based substances are for nerve disorders. And I was wondering if you would like to address that today.
You bet. Well, again, kind of on the same subject of what we're talking about is that, your nervous system runs on electrical impulses. It runs on basically like a chemical electrical impulse. And so your cells are transferring like an electrical charge from one cell to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's how you transfer the nervous energy from here to there. And it travels at really high speeds. What happens is that when you take a look at the pain fibers, the nerves that actually transfer pain, they actually transfer the pain at one of the highest speeds. But if we can take and repair the nerves, we can actually make it so they won't transfer that nerve impulse as quickly, and we can actually get rid of pain that way.
Yeah, and I believe personally, I've had some nerve repair. I had nerve pain in my lower legs and around part of my ankle, and I no longer have that anymore. So based on a research article I saw that you posted about it supporting the nerves, I'm going to assume that's what happened with me. We're at the top of the hour now, Doc, and I appreciate all your wisdom and information. We love that you share with us every Tuesday. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add yet today?
Andrea, the one thing that I'll tell people is that when we're taking a look at the age pill, I mean, these are all ingredients all the ingredients that are in there are things that our body needs. These are things that we get from the food that we eat. It's not like we're taking some really wacky type of a product and putting it out there and saying, here, take this exotic thing it's going to do this, it's going to do that. I mean, remember, the product's not a drug. It's just simply its nutrients, and they're concentrated and they're put into a form that it's gonna get your body to do what it naturally is supposed to do. And so when I looked at some of the studies that came out of University of Iowa, they said that, I mean, the dosages of some of these ingredients are like, you could eat like cereal bowls full of the ingredients every day and not have any side effects. Well, I mean, no serious side effects. You're gonna have some side effects. I mean, it's if you eat too much of a good thing and your body starts to repair itself really quickly, are you gonna feel different? You're dang right you're gonna feel different. You're gonna feel the effect of that. Is it bad? No. I mean, if your body's repairing and you feel a side effect from that, that's a good thing. So you can take this. You can take with every medication. I haven't seen a single medication that said that you couldn't take it. There's a lot of studies on NAD and NR, nicotinamide riboside, and all the other components, all the other precursors to NAD that say that, it helps out with all sorts of conditions. The extracts, the vitamins help with this and this and this and this and this. And again, we can't say it about the age pill because we haven't done the studies on the age pill, but we can say it about the ingredients that are in the age pill. And again, if you take a look at our formulation, the formulation that Tom's used, there isn't a single formulation on the market that can touch the formulation that we have. And I mean, our science is just way ahead of really, in my opinion, if you look at the science, our science is ahead of the science that they're doing at Harvard. Right. And so that's why, I mean, you go on the testimonial calls that we've done, the recordings that we've done, and some of the testimonials sound way out there. I mean, so far-fetched that you go, no, that can't happen. That didn't happen. I have people tell me that, oh, you made that up. I'm like, oh man, dude, you got to try this. You got to try it. Try it for 90 days. Do a double dose for the first 60 to 90 days if you're over the age of 40, and then cut back to a regular dose like that. And I mean, if you don't feel any effects, quit. What are you out? Right. And really, I haven't had anybody come back and say, oh, I didn't notice anything. So you bet. So that's kind of my final word for today, Andrea. Thanks for being the host every Tuesday for us.
Yeah, and for those out there listening, we have this call every Tuesday at noon. So put it in your calendars, set your alarms, whatever, and tune in. We have different topics, and we have guest speakers who are doctors and other medical professionals often. So we hope to have you tune in again. Have a great day.
Oh, hey, Andrea, I was going to say, too, I just remembered. We've got Rosalind Saunders from Australia, who's going to be on the call next week. She's from down around the Gold Coast down there in Australia. And her specialty, what she's specialized in, is working with addictions. And next Tuesday, she's agreed to come on our call because she started to notice, and there's other scientists who are noticing, that when you use some of the components of the age pill, you can actually help get rid of addictions. And she's going to talk about that, and she's going to talk about maybe helping get some people who might give their testimonials on it, so that she can put together kind of a research deal on this, so that she can go out there and show it to some of the addiction clinics down in Australia, and we can do the same thing here up in the States. So next Tuesday, that's who our guest speaker is.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye now.